Hello everyone and welcome to our continued look at the 3.0 classes. Today we're taking a look at the Guardian. Yes, the big dick Jedi Guardian or Sith Juggernaut. Same thing really. So we're taking a look at that. A class that's had kind of a forgettable expansion, to be honest with you. Vigilance has been, it's been okay. I mean, it's been there. It's never really been the star of the show, but it's been okay. It's been kind of a middle of the road kind of expansion for Vigilance. The tank spec has been, it's probably been its weakest that it's ever been at the moment, the Guardian tank. Now, we're not saying the Guardian tank is not viable. It certainly is viable for the current raid tier, but the other two tanks tend to bring a hell of a lot more than the Guardian. I mean, your shadows have mobility. Certainly mobility has always been a problem for the Guardian. Movement speed is its biggest problem. We don't have a movement speed boost, really. Well, we kind of do, but it doesn't really work out well in raids. If you're kiting rapid fire, for example, on Sword Squadron, your movement thing is Guardian Leap, and you're not going to leap to somebody else, okay, while rapid fire. You're going to take the rapid fire with you to them, and I don't think they'd appreciate that. I mean, as a Vanguard, you can spec, you know, for the hold the line speed boost, and you can actually move pretty fast with hold the line. Of course, a Shadow, they're the kings of movement speed. They have force speed, and they can teleport as well, so they are awesome at kiting things. That's always been the problem with the Vanguard, is there's a lot of things in this expansion that does need to be moved and need to be kited. The Vanguard probably has the most trouble with that. If you think about Sunder, when you did Sunder in Scum and Villainy, you'd never put a Vanguard on Sunder, right? You always put a, you never put a Guardian on Sunder, should we say. It was always the Vanguard or the Shadow that went on Sunder, because they could hit on the move, and a lack of ranged abilities just gives us less flexibility when it comes to the Vanguard. Other than that, they're viable. I mean, they are viable as tanks. I mean, but they're not really the staple tank of this expansion. Like, they've always been the kind of staple tank in the game. But this time, a little bit of a, you know, you wouldn't reject a Guardian tank. Put it that way. If a Guardian tank comes and says, "Hey, I'm a Guardian tank, I want to join and do progression raiding," you wouldn't say no. They're not that bad that you'd say no. It's not like 2.0 at the beginning with the Shadows, which were just weak at the beginning of Rise of the Hutt Cartel. They were so weak that they would just die on bosses, just outright die. You know, if their mitigation wasn't kept up, and you need to be really good to play a Shadow tank back then. They're not that bad. Okay, they're not that bad. However, if a Guardian tank leaves, you're not gonna miss them. It's like, yeah, as long as you've got another tank, as long as you've got a Vanguard or a Shadow, are you really gonna miss them? Nah, not really, to be honest with you. But you're not going to be pining after a Guardian tank. Oh my god, if we only had a Guardian here. No one's going to say that. And same with the DPS. It's like, oh, do you know what we really need for this fight? A Guardian. No one's ever said that in this tier. I don't think anyone's ever said that in any tier about the DPS. Again, they fall behind the Sentinel in terms of the damage numbers and in terms of raid utility. So they don't have Inspiration, and they don't have Transcendence for Underlurker HM. So yeah, that kind of rules them out. Vigilance, it's a decent spec. I like the simplicity of it for Vigilance. The other spec is Focus, which is kind of too similar to the Marauder one. You know, it's too similar to the Marauder one, so you don't really play it. Vigilance is what it is. I mean, it's fairly easy. I mean, I like it. I actually like the fact that it's quite an easy spec to play. It's good for new players. If you're new to the game and you want to play a Jedi Knight, pick a Guardian, pick Vigilance. Very, very good. If you compare that to the Marauder specs, which have a bit more depth and complexity, so when you're done with Vigilance, go to a Marauder. You know, combat has the precision windows that you've got to look out for, and of course Carnage has its dot. You know, you've got your dot spec, which you have to weave in all your dots and things like that and manage your focus. The Guardian Vigilance is fairly simple. You know, you get a button that generates focus for you. You get combat focus. The rotation is fairly easy. It's fairly straightforward. You just reset the cooldown of Master Strike and get as many Master Strikes out as you can. Vigilant Thrust is a cool ability. It's a bit pervy though. I mean, that Guardian's just gonna vigilantly thrust you. Use that on Brontes. She likes it. She likes your vigilant thrust. Oh yeah, because the Guardians, they know how to satisfy the ladies. Okay, that's what the Guardian does. The Vigilance Guardian. Okay, 4.0, getting Blade Dance. Okay, hell yeah. Blade Dance. Seduce him with Blade Dance. Get in there for the Vigilant Thrust. And then they'll call you the Burn Master afterwards. Because, oh yeah, that's another ability that we're getting. Burn Master in 4.0. So yeah, there we go. The Guardian knows what the ladies like. That's what the Guardian does. But I like the fact that they are fairly simple. The only problem with this is they do get a bit boring time to time. So again, if you want that little bit more depth, you're going to move to Sentinel once you start. But a Guardian is a good beginner class, and I like it as a beginner class. I like that. I like the fact that that spec is in the game, and I like the fact if you want a bit more depth as a Guardian, you're going to play as a tank. Okay, because the tank has depth there. So I'd recommend trying a Guardian tank. They're pretty decent actually, despite the fact that they're probably the weakest of the 3 tanks right now. But they're not totally unviable. You know, it's not like they're so bad that people just avoid them like the plague. Like if you see Guardian pop up, you're like, no, we're not taking you to this fight because you're useless. No, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. However, you don't miss them. That's the problem is, and it's the same with Vigilance. Yeah, I mean, the Guardian is... It is that kind of... It is a decent class. I mean, if you want a class that's fun to play, it's fun. The only problem with it is it just gets a little bit boring, a little bit repetitive. I can play the Guardian quite easily, and I like doing questing with the Guardian. That's what I like with my Guardian, is jumping in, pulling half the area, and then just AoEing the crap out of everything. So awesome with your Vigilant Thrust. You've got a dot spread, but it's not necessary while questing. It's only necessary if you're clearing raid trash. I don't know why people try and dot spread on sort of regular trash, because it's like... Nah, Vigilant Thrust kills most mobs, most leveling mobs with one hit anyway, so I think that that's a bit of an issue. One of the issues I had when trying to dot spread was like, yeah, do you know what, fuck this, I'm just gonna hit Vigilant Thrust, Cyclone Slash, and away we go. And they're dead with like 2 hits. You know, a couple of Cyclone Slashes and a Vigilant Thrust, and they're dead. But they are, the movement is the problem. They are getting a movement thing in 4.0. We're going to get Heroic Leap. Should help them out a little bit. Should help them out. It would be nice if Heroic Leap gave you a... Oh, I'm calling it Heroic Leap. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, it's... it is Heroic Leap. If you played a warrior in WoW, it's Heroic Leap is what you're getting. But yeah, I think they're actually not bad. They're not that bad, but it's hard to sort of be too negative about the Guardian because I know its purpose. Its purpose is there for new players. If you want to be a melee class and you're a new player, one of the easiest to play. Okay, play Vigilance, play Vengeance if you're a Juggernaut. It is, I mean, it isn't that rewarding, isn't hugely rewarding, but it is fun to play with, and it is fun to quest with. For raiding, you're not gonna be sort of missed. It's a Vigilance, oh, I'll bring a Vigilance Guardian, okay. I mean, the numbers are reasonable. They're viable for most the HM fights. However, if it always comes up to the choice. If there is a choice in a raiding guild between Guardian, Sentinel when it comes to DPS, you're gonna pick the Sentinel. Okay, Sentinel just does more damage, especially doing Underlurker hard mode. Okay, Underlurker, HM, Transcendence. Kind of required because of the movement speed buff that you give to the entire raid, because you got to get behind those rocks quickly. Transcendence and Inspiration are the 2 things that kind of hold the Guardian back from being a sort of staple raider as a DPS. But again, some people like it. I mean, I know a few people who like playing their Guardian, like playing it as DPS, and they don't want to play a Marauder. Fair enough to them. That's fine. You know, it's fine. But that is always, it's always going to be in the back of your mind if it was a main character, if it was your main, is if I was DPSing, I'm thinking, right, if a Sentinel rocks up and you get a Sentinel, my place is going to be at risk. We don't have a Sentinel. If you have 1 Sentinel in the raid, you don't need 2. You're fine there. But then again, as a melee, you're probably going to get replaced by a ranged anyway. But that would always sit in the back of my mind if I was a melee DPS. or if I was a Guardian, is, you know, a Sentinel rocks up, yeah, you're gonna pick them, and you can see why. I get why you're gonna pick that Sentinel, certainly, because again, the raid buffs, those 2 raid buffs that are very, very important in 3.0. Again, you can spec them so that they cleanse movement impairing effects. Turning into a Sentinel review this, but that really is the problem with the Vigilance Guardian. The tank, again, you're probably going to keep your raid place. You're not really going to lose your raid place as a tank, especially because good Guardians are always welcome in raids. But again, it's going to be a bit harder, this expansion. It has been a bit harder for the Guardian, just because of their lack of mobility. They do still have awesome things like focus defense and saber reflect. Saber reflect is really, really powerful ability. So they still have focus defense is nice as well. So if you're kiting your rapid fire around in Sword Squadron, you can, if you get into trouble, you can pop saber reflect and reflect some of it back to the walker that you're or if your health gets low, you can just sit and pop enraged or focus defense or enraged defense and get free healing, essentially. It was always the case if you were a Guardian tank and you were doing the tank challenge in Raptus and Dread Palace. You would just walk into the room, the thing would hit you, you'd pop focus defense, the thing would heal you, and you'd walk out at full health. Heal to full, essentially. That was really cool on Raptus. I always thought that was fun. But anyway, so next up, I think we'll do the Scoundrel. We'll do the character that we mained. The only thing left, should we consider it for a main? Again, we've been through it. Maybe is the thing. You know, you're always gonna have that in the back of your head. Sentinel might replace me if you're a DPS. As a tank, we don't know what it's gonna be like in the next tier. They were quite good in vanilla. They were quite good in Hut Cartel. So again, they might be good. Scum and Villainy, probably. Scum, Villainy, EC, things like that. They were pretty good staple tanks. So you'd imagine that's what we're going to be rating at 4.0. So I'd imagine they'd be fine as tanks, unless they go and completely fuck them up. Which I don't think they will, because the Guardian has always been a staple tank in the game. So yeah, that's pretty much all for this video. Thank you for joining me. We'll take a look at the Scoundrel next time, and we'll see you again soon, and goodbye.